clearly a lot is happening. A lot is happening because while countries are getting concessions, it means they're putting in work. You know, diplomats are busy working behind the scenes. It's not megaphone diplomacy where you have to keep people updated via the press, you know. So when 19 countries get visa, you know, free status to South Africa, that tells you that their diplomats are working. Now, when it comes to where we are, but I've been a victim of these South African visa restrictions. In 2015, I missed covering the China-Africa summit, which was happening in Joburg, you know, just because of that. So it's not even about, even when you have the money to pay for the visa, you still can't get it, and that's where the problem is. So for somebody speaking from Rwanda, probably even keep your free visa, but let me be able to pay for it and go do business. That is still a problem. But it's a political problem. It's not a people or public diplomacy problem. Between an ordinary South African and an ordinary African, there's no problem. But probably between the government of South Africa and some governments in Africa, probably there is a political problem. So the question is, how long are we going to let politics interfere with honest trade? That's the question. But in particular to the Rwanda-South Africa visa problems, it was a problem of if it will ever be solved as a problem. All right. Then when President Rama was here, and I think he was...
You know, you say Rama, and I feel like he's your colleague from high school.
When President Ramaphosa was here, during a conference that took place here in Rwanda, a journalist trapped him with a very good question. And that soundbite will leave even after he leaves.
You're talking about a soundbite, and I want the control room from South Africa to actually bring this up. Let's just have a little bit of a look at that conversation from March, and then you will actually add a little bit on that.
Yeah, sure. I think the issue of visas by Rwandese to South Africa, consider it as a matter that is solved. We were talking earlier with President Kagame, and we've decided that we are going to put the relationship between South Africa and Rwanda on a much better footing. And the gaps and the challenges that we've had are going to be resolved, and we've got two very outstanding, beautiful ministers of international relations who are going to work on this immediately. They are going to work on this, bring us solutions, and President Kagame and I are going to solve and just sign off what the two sisters are going to bring to the table.
After the president answering that question, and you had the applause in the room.
All right.
That tells you how big a problem or an issue it is.
It wasn't applause. It wasn't applause in the room, of course, because he said, "Consider it done."
Consider it done.
That has been about. Let me see. March is the 3rd month of the year. We are in the 9th month of the year, so 6 months ago.
2 quarters already, you know.
Yeah, 2 quarters.
So for me, before that question, it was a question of if it will ever be solved. So that answer basically shifted it from if to when it will be solved.
All right.
And we were told as soon as possible because the presidents, who are the principals, had gotten on record instructing their technocrats to actually get to work. So probably to answer your question, that means no work has been done so far. Probably work is being done, but not at the pace we expected after the two principals actually saying something on record.
All right.
So in the wider scale of things...
Now, in your view, what is making this delay? Because we want that 51% to actually happen in trade. And if we're still seeing a very big economy on the continent and a rather nascent economy from the east of the continent having such a back and forth of free travel, then...
I think that's typical Africa for you. We always fail to grab the low-lying fruits, and we go for those that are way above us. That explains why we're doing more trade with Europe and Asia than trade within us, Africa. So in the whole effort of building or increasing intra-Africa trade, there are elephants in the room that we have to be wary of. And for me, I've always argued it even in my columns that Africa's biggest economies, Nigeria and South Africa, are those elephants. So we need to address these elephants, because imagine if South Africa and Nigeria took the lead on this. You know, because now it's Rwanda doing it, but mainly because we have the AU chair, which is a good thing. It provides the leadership, the morale is there, but the ratification of the Africa Free Trade area, it's also dragging its feet. Only 6 countries have so far ratified, although South Africa is among those countries that actually gave in commitment to actually come on board. So I think still it will happen. It will happen. So between hope and no hope, I would choose hope. So I still think this whole issue of visas to South Africa by Rwandans or other Africans will still be resolved, but the question is time, which we seem never to pay attention to as Africans, but time is a very big resource that we need to start looking at and doing things without procrastinating. You know, and for me, at this point, we are procrastinating on an issue which is very important for more trade.
Of course, some analysts say that this looks like the doors are being opened to the Gulf nations, and something that will surely keep former President Jacob Zuma a happy man. And do you necessarily drive by that? I
mean, this is not for Zuma, but probably what they mean is that this is work that the current president found, you know, so it's been work in progress. But like I said, if those countries are getting results between their countries and South Africa, it means they are putting in work. Okay. All I want to see is our own technocrats putting in work and seeing results, because I'm sure they are working. But we need them to take this as a matter of urgency so that Africans can see results. There is more trade that can be done within Africa than we are currently doing. And the biggest problem is, much as we are talking about free trade, I'm not going to take goat and leave it at the border and then I stay behind. People should move freely, and we need to see action. We need to see action, not sweet sound bites on conferences like we just had.
Thank you, Ken.